Welcome back to another episode of Revolutionary Detox. Thank you so much for joining today. I am right next to the master CEO of SINEW Inc, Garry Sanon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you give the audience a little introduction about yourself?
All right, thank you, Giselle. So my name is Garry Sanon. I'm the CEO of SINEW Inc. SINEW Inc is my parent company. The different divisions of SINEW include SINEW Fitness and then also SINEW Media Group. And we are developing a real estate component, which is down the line.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot to juggle, and that's something that he's going to be tackling today, how to be an entrepreneur, how to own a business, and how to expand the business. But before we do that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background, where you come from, and just so the audience can get to know you.
Got you. So for the past 18 years, I've been a fitness professional. I've had the opportunities to dabble in so many different aspects of fitness. I've worked with everything from celebrities, professional athletes, moms, dads, youths, pre and postnatal. I've worked with older adults. I've done nonprofit work. I've worked with corporations. I've been a mentor, consulting, wellness programming, done a little bit of everything. Pro bodybuilder myself. I'm really big on athletics. So I've had the opportunity, like I said, to work with a lot of different aspects of fitness.
That's amazing. So, and why don't you tell them a little bit about your background in terms of where your ethnicity, where you come from, your family, so they can know how everything evolved.
Okay, perfect. So I'm a proud son of a Haitian immigrant. So my mom came here. She was a teenager. She moved over here with her parents, and then also, some of my aunts too. We grew up in Cambridge for the most part. So a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit came from my own family members. So my grandmother, she retired from Polaroid. I watched her save, all of her money to be able to buy an 8-family apartment house in Cambridge, right in Central Square. She went on to own a Meineke. She also went on to open up a couple different nonprofits that she services Haiti and underserved families, and a lot of my other family members too are entrepreneurs too. So my uncle, great influence in my life. He also owns like a Midas, so a lot of my business sense came directly from my grandmother and then also like my uncle.
Wow, that's amazing. And how did SINEW Inc. came about through having this amazing experience with the background of having your family be in the entrepreneurship mindset and world? How did SINEW Inc. evolve?
So SINEW Inc. came from a period where I just realized what my worth was. I realized that every single time I went to any company, it was me that I was bringing value to the company. I had the opportunity to learn, but when I really think about it, I brought a significant amount of value. And when I started weighing out the return on investment, and we're talking about the amount of time that you spent commuting, the amount of time that you spent building up someone else's business. Once this pandemic happened, I just decided, hey, you know what? Let me take that same energy and put it into something that I truly believe in, and it's myself. You'll never lose out when you really bet on yourself, and that's what this came from, SINEW. So the word SINEW in and of itself, if you look it up, it relates to connective tissue. So a lot of what I do within fitness is just trying to figure out the inner workings of the body, trying to figure out how everything is connected. Also with SINEW is a play on my last name. My last name is Sanon, so I'm thinking about the rebirth and reinventing myself, as an entrepreneur, not just a fitness professional, but an actual entrepreneur. So it's a new me, SINEW. And then the last aspect of it, as far as like SINEW relates to strength. And when we talk about strength, it's not just the physical, the brute strength, that people think about, like, maybe when they think about weight training, they just think about, that the brutality behind it. The reality is like what I do and the difference between what I do as a fitness professional is that I focus on the inner workings and developing that inner strength. So that means that, at the end of every single session, the goal is to have it so that, the person that I'm working with, that person looks at me and says, damn, I feel a lot stronger. Damn, I feel a lot better. I didn't realize I could do X, Y, and Z.
Wow.
And all it takes is one time. And that's really my calling card as far as fitness. All it takes is really one time. You try this one time, and you're going to recognize the power behind the movement.
Wow, that was an amazing breakdown. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And that leads me to the question, we see SINEW Inc. as the parent business now. And how did you come into this realization that you wanted to incorporate real estate in it, media, and the health as well, the health and wellness? Why don't you walk us through that journey as well? How did you just started branching out from SINEW Inc?
Yeah, so the other aspects are just things that I'm interested in. Real estate. For me, I want to create generational wealth also. I know that, one of the fastest ways to be able to do that is going to be through real estate. I love looking at houses. I love looking at properties. It's something that I'm interested in. So for me, I just wanted to continue to learn more and more about it. And rather than putting it in the hands of somebody else, as far as like when I go ahead and purchase property, I'd rather purchase, for myself, through myself. I'm just very much of the mindset that I don't want to keep giving into corporations. I don't want to keep giving my money away when I can make my money make money. So that's why.
Love it. Go ahead. Keep going.
So that's why really, that's why, the real estate component, that's something that I'm looking to do next year.
That's awesome.
And the importance of that too is like, in me going into real estate, I recognize, one, I'm just not an expert, so, as a smart businessman, a smart entrepreneur, I've put, people around me that know and that have done it and that, excel, within it, and these are going to be my partners. So anything that SINEW does, we do it with excellence, and we do it with the mindset of we want to dominate, So as far as the other divisions, SINEW Media Group, where that came from, was I ended up doing some freelance work with El Mundo. We know this period of time, there's a lot of civil unrest that's going on right now. We know what's going on, with the country. And one of the things is there's truth and there's painting a picture. And what I wanted to do, and I started just doing this, was just basically recording so that I could put out the truth myself. But it ended up being that, I had the opportunity to work with El Mundo, and, people just started seeing me out. And they just started asking me to video for them, asking me to take pics of them, and then I would end up sending out my stuff. And then there just ended up being more and more interest around, me helping out from that aspect. So that's where I developed SINEW Media Group. Also, like, I knew that I needed to have a web page. I needed to improve my Instagram. I needed to, do a lot better with social media as a whole. So for myself, rather than saying like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna continue just to hire people to do the work for me, I'd rather hire people that I trust, help them to build within my company. And then the difference is that, as an owner of the company, I'm not looking at it as I'm owning these people, that's corporations. I'm looking at it as they are partnering with me. I'll utilize, my ability and my business sense, to be able to negotiate, different contracts for us, and they utilize, their passion and their skill set to be able to put out quality work, that is worthy of the name SINEW.
That's just incredible. And one of the things that I want to point out is that you say, I am here to partner with people so they can grow with me. It's not like you are just overpowering, but that's something that's very key in us. We need to learn how to help each other up as we rise, instead of trying to dominate and try to bring others down. And that's actually one of the key points about Revolutionary Detox, is to bring people so that we can start excelling, we can start bringing the Black excellence, the people of color that are intelligent, because we can do and we can have the same thing that this white folks may have. So one of that is what he's demonstrating through his talents, through his gifts, is that he is now executing his passion for media, his passion for wellness, his passion for real estate. And now he is able to not only help himself, but he's helping the community that is our people, the people that we identify with. So before we move on to the next part, I would like for you to also tell the audience a little bit about the next projects that you have for us in terms of, you know, the traveling around Massachusetts, bringing, I know one of the things you say to me is, I'm going to bring the gym to the people's houses. So why don't you start speaking to people about that project of yours?
Yeah, so even before we go there, one of the things that, you know, Giselle just said, you know, that's really huge is the community piece of it.
Yes.
So my pillars when it comes to my company are community, connectivity, and strength. So we talked a little bit.
We are going to get that on the next episode. This is a two-part series,
my bad,
and that will be on our next episode. So keep watching, keep watching. There's more.
Okay, so going back to just the community piece, right? So what you just said, you know, for me, I was working in a corporate environment. I've been blessed to really be successful, you know, with fitness. Fitness is my passion. It gives me purpose. And one of the things I always say is if you recognize what your passion is and it's something that gives you purpose, if you put a plan behind it, then it's going to feed you. And it's not only going to feed you from the sense of from a monetary standpoint, but it's going to feed you spiritually, it's going to feed you also emotionally.
Yes.
So I never feel like I work. Like I'm blessed to be able to get up and I wear shorts every single day. I have the opportunity to put a smile on somebody's face. I have the opportunity to change people's lives. I don't feel like I'm working at all because this gives me purpose. And this is, you know, from the time that I was a kid, this is all I wanted to do.
Wow.
You know, so I started off, you know, I told Giselle, you know, about my story, you know, where I started off, how I got into fitness, where, you know, I was a kid. Childhood obesity. It was one nutritionist that really changed my life. She taught me how to eat well, and I can't remember her name, but I remember the feeling.
Wow.
And that feeling was I felt like I could do anything at that point. And I had a different confidence around myself, and I told myself at a very young age, I think I probably was about 11 years old, I told myself I want to give some other people this feeling also.
Wow.
And that's what birthed this career for me too. You know?
And now you're bringing the gym to people. Now you're traveling all over Massachusetts. Why don't you tell us what are some of the locations so we can find you?
Yeah, so I'm literally everywhere and anywhere.
Yes,
you know? So
that's your motto.
I'll go everywhere, anywhere. You don't have to ask if I'm gonna come to you because I will come to you. It's not too far. I have clients in New Hampshire. I have clients in Switzerland. I have clients in Amsterdam. You know, I've worked with people out in Puerto Rico. This is all through virtual. As far as like me doing in-person stuff, I'm all over Massachusetts. I have clients right now. I run my strength camps primarily in Quincy and East Boston. I've done them in Chelsea. I've done them in Lynn, Cambridge, Somerville. I'm literally everywhere. And the reason why I have that moniker is because we know with this period of time, there's a lot of folks that, you know, are reluctant with coming to facilities. I worked and I was an area fitness manager in Boston, right, in Back Bay, Boston. Loved it. You know, as far as my service, like I think I did a great job as far as helping, you know, people that came into the gym, but then also helping the newer generation of trainers that were coming in so that they would do things the right way, do things with integrity, no gimmicks, and just focus on the science and getting people good results through good quality service. But what I did realize, especially with everything that's going on, was that I wasn't doing enough.
Wow.
When I really think about, you know, our communities as a whole, I wasn't really servicing our communities. Where I started off from was in the nonprofit sector, in working in the Dorchester. You know, I spent 8 years at a YMCA. I spent, you know, 8 years working for Kid Clark Senior Services, which was like a senior center.
Wow.
And I ended up winning a national award through that program.
Wow.
I just realized it's like, you know, I'll give you an example. It's like right now watching your house be on fire and then you start watering your lawn.
Wow.
Right? So with everything that was going on, especially the George Floyd, that just hit home for me. I was 8 years old. I remember growing up and I wanted to be, before fitness, I wanted to be a police officer. The first time I realized that police officers, not all of them were heroes, was when I was 8 years old and I saw Rodney King. And I watched it on TV. I asked my mom like why and how, and I just remember her just having this look in her face and she just couldn't explain anything to me. And I just remember just being hurt, and I just remember for the first time I was like, why would a, you know, I just asked like, why would a police officer want to hurt me? I just didn't understand. Now, watching the George Floyd, it just brought back all those, we'll call them traumas, you know, and I think a lot of us, we don't speak openly about our traumas, but that's traumatic. Like it brought back some really hurtful feelings from my youth. And I just realized I can't water the lawn. Like I have to put out the fire, so I have to get out to different communities and I have to just start working on just uniting people. So, you know, I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with all different types of clients, you know, individuals of all different economic backgrounds, from multimillionaires, you know, to people that, you know, don't even know where their next meal is coming from.
Wow.
And what I do with my program is that you may see all those different people in one class, and that's different. You won't see that from a lot of other people's programs. That's the difference with mine, is that, you know, I could have people that live in Beverly and other suburbs, and they'll come down to Chelsea just to work out with me.
Wow.
You know, and then now all of a sudden we create a different type of dialogue where people that normally wouldn't interact, now all of a sudden they're interacting.
Wow.
You know?
Wow, thank you so much for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing so openly. But before we end this episode, I would like for you to tell the audience just one advice that you have for them, for those who are entrepreneurs but yet haven't found out or realized that about themselves. What is something that you can tell them? Where is the starting point that you can give them so that they can have something tangible to work with?
So starting point would be first identifying what your interests are.
Wow.
Right, and identifying why. Like, what is your why? Because you may say that you're interested in something. Are you interested in it when it's going well? Are you interested in it? Are you interested in it all the time?
Wow.
Like for me, like I talk about love it, live it, breathe it. When it comes to fitness, I don't turn it off. Like I don't know how to be a different person. It's ingrained in me since the time that I was a kid to be this person. You know, so this is decades in the making for this role that I have right now as CEO of SINEW Inc.
Wow.
You know, so recognizing that what you're doing should also be authentic.
Yes.
Right? So that's my primary. I would say that those are going to be my primary, you know, pieces of advice. Make sure what you're doing is authentic. Identify what your why is. Identify what your true interests are. And then from there, you have to create an actual strategic plan.
Yes.
So it's one thing to say that I want to do X, Y, and Z, but if you're not planning for it, you're planning to fail.
Thank you, Garry, so much for that amazing answer, which is giving people the strategies and just the amazing tips on how to get started. And like he mentioned, just start asking yourself, what is your why? And just start planning from there. No matter if you're not going the right direction, you're just going to learn and you can get right back on it. But we encourage you, like he mentioned, just to start getting on it and start reflecting with yourself. So thank you so much for tuning in on another episode of Revolutionary Detox, and I encourage you to stay tuned for the next part series with Garry Sanon.